Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Spilling Tea. I'm your host, Tiffany Daniels. We're going back to that horrible world known as the JRC, but first a brief rant. Have you noticed, when I have my hair down, that is, I got a whole lot of hair. A lot of it. It's very thick hair. So, when someone like me comes to your door, and they on the rare occasion want to get their hair straight, what you don't do is simply blow dry it. Because there's one thing that happens when it comes to blow drying my hair type dry. Pressure, alright? I came home looking like I just walked out of an 80s hair band video. I've actually been home for a little bit longer than an hour. I had to go and take my brush straightener to kind of style this out and flatten it a little bit. It's still poofy. It's not as poofy as it was, granted. I do good work. Hey, not that bad. Still a little poofy. But yeah, when you have to go and correct your own hairstylist. Not to mention, I know this doesn't sound like a lot to most people, but $31 a pop. I expect you, when I say straighten my hair, to do it properly. Not me having to come home and fix it. Alright? Done. Sorry, but no, I'm going to continue. Also, hairdressers. When your client is autistic, and they got sensory issues, when you throw things in our face, it itches. And slightly hurts. Kind of feels like an itch burn thing. Kind of feels a little bit like a healing sunburn. Okay? It's not a great feeling. But I gotta see it in front of your face. Okay, but your clip left all this in my face, right up here, where it's extremely sensitive. Clip it all the way up. If I can do it, you, the hairdresser who's gone to school for this shit, can do it too. Right? Alright. Sorry. I'm just annoyed, folks. I'm really annoyed because sadly, this move right off is the improvement. To the disclaimers, shall we? We'll go through them real quick, get these 2 videos done. In the description box, you're going to find the link to the article that the Judge Rotenberg Educational Center doesn't want you to read. It's written by NeuroClastic, a small non-for-profit started by autistics for autistics. Oh god, I look glowy like the poltergeist child. Hold on, guys. Okay, let's start over, shall we? You're going to find a link to the article that the Judge Rotenberg Center doesn't want you to read. It's written by NeuroClastic, a small non-for-profit started by autistics for autistics, wherein they interviewed and surveyed over 900 ABA professionals in regards to the JRC's so-called behavior modification program. Matter of fact, the JRC doesn't want you to read it so much, they have threatened NeuroClastic with a defamation lawsuit if they did not remove it from the website. NeuroClastic has refused, so you know the drill. Please read the article and share it on all your social media. Also included in there is NeuroClastic's public statement in regards to the defamation lawsuit threat, as well as a link to their GoFundMe. We are crowdfunding, folks, in case the JRC actually sees through with their threat. Also included in there, the Ozarks' first article in regards to Agape boarding school, also known as Stone for Help boarding school situation. A so-called Christian-themed boarding school based out of Stockton, Missouri that takes in so-called trouble male teens that has impending over 21 civil lawsuits, claims, and allegations leveled against it. all which have been substantiated by the Missouri Department of Social Services, and they include the following: sodomy, rape, sexual assault, child abuse, psychological and emotional abuse, child trafficking, starvation, and that's just for starters. You have one former staff member arrested by the FBI, another a doctor, still out of premises with full access to the boys upon multiple, again, substantiated claims of sodomy, rape, and sexual assault. The boys there. You have an attorney general too busy chasing after drag queens and trying and failing to defund public libraries to actually do his job. And you got the governor off his nuts and help. Read that article. Share it on all your social media. Excuse me, allergies. We got the other pertinent links to the Stop the Shots campaign as well, including Autistic Hoya's massive archive on the subject, Jennifer Masumba's behavioral sheet of shockable offenses, a clip out of the 7-hour ordeal undergone by Andre McCombs back in 2002, the templates, and the ever-present, very self-explanatory Change.org Shut the Judge Rotenberg Center Down petition. When we discuss the JRC folks, you're going to hear vivid descriptions of, it gets clips of surveillance footage of people with disabilities being tortured and abused. If you got young children present, folks, please go get it and use those headphones, alright? This channel is marked not for kids for a reason. We use profanity on occasion and speak on dark subjects. If your child is 16 and younger and they're watching this, very obviously parental supervision is very much advised. Alright. One more thing to write about before we get into the usual paragraph. This is you, media and social media. I don't know if you noticed, but people do this little thing called aging. Let me bring up my point. Two major British stars, one heavy metal, one a super bottle, has been slammed by the media for doing simple things such as age. First one had to do with Kate Moss, slamming her for what she looks like without her makeup on, saying, "My God, she looks 90. Newsflash. All your little faves, yes, including that little Miss Thing, AH, does not look like the picture-perfect thing that you see blasted on the news every day. Usually, media, when they like you, will use your most flattering photos, even if they're decades old. She doesn't look like that, folks. None of us look like what we look like when we're at our peak, alright? But that goes especially so when it comes to celebs, because we are dealing with graphic artists. Hi, how you doing? That's what I went to school for. But we have these neat little tricks and shading and fixing glares and all those other little tricks that they want you to believe we're not doing, such as making a person look thinner than what they actually do. Yeah. Okay? It is okay that when she's not busy being the limelight and Kate Moss wants to go and rest without her makeup, that she looks like the 40-something woman that she is. She does not deserve to be slammed or shamed for something as simple as aging. Okay? Now let's move forward here. We're going to talk about Ozzy. Because of the characters and jokes that came straight out of the early 2000s from the show The Osbournes, people forget just how important Ozzy is to the metal community. Okay? You really do. Whether it's through Black Sabbath or his solo career, the man has written songs that has gotten a lot of us through some extremely horrific shit. I can say that. I'm one of them. So when I start seeing his name trending on social media, like a good majority of us fearing the worst, and I click in there, and I see people that say that I must prepare myself for the worst because Ozzy is suffering from the same things many men his age suffer from. I get a little pissy. Okay? This worship of youth is the most useless, ridiculous, pointless thing on the planet. Because it doesn't matter how much plastic surgery that you get. It doesn't matter how much Botox you put yourself through. It doesn't matter how much hair dye you use. All of us are going to age. If we're lucky, we'll be able to get old. And you're not going to look the same. Okay? So why are we shaming people for aging? It's ridiculous. Youth and beauty are fleeting. They are the absolutely worst things to worship on the planet. And they do. This celebrity worship, I've never understood it. I will probably never understand it. Why go so crazy over the things that are fleeting? Since I was a kid, I pursued artists, whether they be metal, a little bit of blues. Granted, I am not an aficionado on the subject. I will freely admit that. What I do know of it was taught to me by my dad when he was still alive. And I will tell you that I got the very rare privilege of being able to hear some of the giants like Louis Armstrong's from their actual cylinder recordings through, the cylinders, folks. I can't think of the name of it. God, I'm tired. Graphophones, things of that nature, okay? As they were originally recorded. I don't think I can explain the experience to you, alright? Artistry doesn't die. Art that was immortalized by portraits and artists doesn't die. Wisdom from the ancients onto now doesn't die. Knowledge doesn't die. Being a good, decent human being doesn't die. These are the things we should be pursuing. Pursue wisdom, pursue philosophy, pursue life out there instead of worshiping it through a small screen in your living room while you're being closed out from the world. Complaining about people aging. It annoys me. Particularly when you all decide we should prepare for the worst. Ozzy is obviously dying. Ozzy is aging, folks. Good God. He's allowed to age. He's allowed to walk, move, and use a cane like a good majority of the people his age do. The man has done every drug on the planet. a good majority of the world are still trying to figure out how he's still around, and you all want to bitch about, well, he might not be long for the world. Jesus. Alright. Leave Ozzy alone. Let him age in peace. Leave Kate Moss alone. Let her age in peace. Someone who's pushing 40, like moi, is not a grandma. Not by anyone's estimation except this current generation. Call me out when y'all turn 26 and start getting your freaking heads together. God. Now we'll get into it. Lastly, in March of 2012, Wisconsin passed its first law on the use of restraint and seclusion in public schools. I believe I read this. Let's skip to the other one. 2 federal laws addressing the use of aversives in schools and private programs have also been introduced in recent years, though neither of them have been passed or signed into law as of yet. And still aren't. This is from 2013, folks. We've been trying to get those federal laws passed for as long as some of these kids have been in high school or middle school, okay? A lot of these kids who are trying to jump into adult conversations on Twitter, and I'll call it Twitter to the day I die. They were in middle school when we were fighting for these laws originally. Okay? Yeah. The first of the 2 is Keeping All Students Safe Act, which addresses the use of restraint and other aversives in public and private schools that receive federal funding. This is one of the main pushes that we are trying to get past, folks, because it doesn't just target the JRC, it targets public schools and private schools across the board. We need federal guidelines. We need some coherent logic sense that is across the board so that schools don't get to pick and choose, okay? Saying. It would place an absolute ban on the use of techniques including mechanical and chemical restraint, damages forms of physical restraint, seclusion, and aversive behavioral interventions that compromise health and safety. It should go without saying, right? It goes beyond even the most strong state bills, and requiring restraint can only be used when a student's behavior immediately poses a danger of serious bodily injury to self or others, where the restraint does not interfere with the student's ability to communicate, and where less restrictive interventions have been effective. In other words, when restraint is actually needed, it should be done for the same reasons that it may be happening in an ER, okay? That means somebody trained, like my mom, who knows what the hell that they're doing, that doesn't end up with a student being bruised and possibly killed by somebody who's untrained. It also clears up the language. It takes away all the vagueness that people use to get their loopholes in, to do whatever the hell they want to us without repercussions. Bodily injury to self or others makes it pretty clear, doesn't it? That means if I'm just stimming here, because I learned to mask my stimming years ago, if I'm just sitting here doing this, I'm not going to have 3 staff jump me. Yes, folks, I've seen it happen. An individual, hands tightly towards their body so they're not hitting anyone when they flap. Yeah, I've seen it. Okay? I've seen it. This is what I mean by we need clear guidelines, rules, laws, regulations in regards to this so that there's no loopholes that individuals can use to exploit so that they can use their aversive madness on us. Furthermore, they could only be used by trained staff, like I just said. As far as notification goes, the law would require schools to inform and debrief parents of incidents of physical restraint, require state educational agencies to provide federal government with data on the amounts and types of such incidents on a yearly basis. So we understand on occasion there are things that happen in the moment that you may not be able to get a hold of a working parent to get consent for. I'm not completely out of my mind here. There might be a time where a person may need to be properly, by a trained professional, restrained, so that they do not bodily harm themselves or others. Granted, gotcha. But there's other little things that they try to get in there that they do without the parent's consent. I've been hearing stories all of this year from a group of individuals that I got connected with through Twitter about just such incidents, with parents not even knowing what was going on, just that their kids were becoming more reclusive, less social than they already were, and less willing to go to school every day. And then they came to find out why. Yeah, that's been happening a lot. Videos coming out of the UK where autistic kids are dragged across concrete. Not properly restrained, but dragged. Okay? Picture that. Kids who, when a staff was so-called subduing them, getting their heads hit into the concrete. But they can get away with it because this is why we gotta clean up the language and make very, very clear, because if you think it's not happening in the US, allow me to enlighten you. It is, and it's worse than it is in the UK. This is why we gotta clean up the language on a federal level for all 50 states. Not one state has the privilege of their disabled kids being treated like human beings, and another red state, GOP hell, wants to treat us like we're third-class citizens and charity projects all at once. Missouri. There would be no private right of action under this law. It authorizes the federal government through the Secretary of Education to withhold funding from non-compliant schools. It requires such schools to make and implement a corrective action plan in regards to use of aversives, and to force schools to change through litigation when and where necessary. And this, folks, is the same department that we have Donald Trump the Cheeto wants to do away with. Let states do it all. But here's the problem with that, you freaking jackass. Schools don't do it. They don't do anything to protect the disabled kids. Alright? Let's be blunt here, not play games. We'll put the parents in and the states in control, because that's gone so well. Newsflash, it hasn't. Missouri, as a state, has one of the lowest graduation rates. Okay? Has had the lowest graduation rates, one of them, since I was a kid. Alright? They're controlling the majority. Being able to use those loopholes has not done any of us students, past, present, or future, any real favors here. There's a reason why federal funding exists. Well, if you're not meeting the federal requirements, why it's withdrawn. God. Anyway, sorry. We're going to close on that, folks. We don't get very many views on this channel. The few that we do get tend to get removed from time to time. Please don't forget to hit the like button, hit subscribe. Don't forget to hit the comments. I'm terribly sorry if my voice goes Darth Vader. I'm pretty sure that it has. It's been doing it every video lately. As always, we here at Spilling Tea. Hope you have a good one. I'll go wrap my hair up still. Bye-bye, everyone. Excuse me while I fight with my computer. Sorry, this is taking a minute.